Have you ever tried to get somebody with dementia to do an activity, to engage in some sort of hobby, but they just don't seem to want to do anything? In today's video, I'm going to go over how to come up with activities the person with dementia would actually enjoy doing, because let's face it, not every person with dementia wants to fold towels or play bingo. And number two, I'm going to talk about some of the most common reasons somebody might not be engaging in an activity, even if it's an activity you're pretty sure they would enjoy doing. I'm going to help you troubleshoot what's going on to hopefully increase their activity level. Let's get started. Oh, and real quick, Careblazer, I'm hosting a free class on how to successfully respond to challenging dementia behaviors. It's totally free, but you do need to save your spot. I put a link in the description below that you can click and register. Okay, so you've probably seen a bunch of different lists on various activities that somebody with dementia can do. That's great. It's beautiful for brainstorming, but the problem is you might be looking at that list and you might be thinking, there is no way my loved one would do that. There's no way the person I care for is going to be interested in any of these activities. The problem with these lists is that they're generic. They're not specific to the person you are caring for. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to think about what your person was interested in long ago. Think back to their childhood, think back to their early adulthood, think back to the jobs or careers that they've had. How did they spend their free time when dementia was not in the picture? Go ahead and write all of those things down. Now, this is a really good jumping off point. It's very likely that your person cannot continue doing those things you just wrote down, but these are ideas and sparks to get you to think, okay, how can I bring some of that into the current picture? A lot of times when somebody gets diagnosed with dementia, we sometimes throw out the very things that they used to enjoy doing, thinking we need something special because the person has dementia. Somebody can still very well stay active in their interests and hobbies from the past well throughout their disease. The challenge here is that you're going to have to tweak and make adjustments to help set your loved one up for success. So if your loved one really enjoyed cooking in the past, we would want to write down cooking and all of the different things that go along with cooking. Finding a recipe, meal planning, chopping, stirring, seasoning, taste testing, right? Setting a table, plating it on the food. What are all the different activities that are involved with cooking? If somebody was really interested in playing golf, right? Think about everything that's involved in playing golf. Getting the materials and the gloves and the golf balls and washing the golf balls out and taking a swing and looking at beautiful greenery of the beautiful golf course landscape. There's so many different activities that go along in golfing. In any hobby or activity, we could break it down into so many different parts. And the really cool thing is depending on the severity of dementia, you just adjust what it is that person can do. There are always two things to be considered when thinking about an activity. You have to think about their cognitive ability. What are they actually able to do, keep track of, remember, follow along with, and then physically, what do they physically have the ability to do? So when we're talking about somebody who really enjoyed cooking in the past, in the mild dementia stages, they could probably continue doing much of what they've always done. You might need to be a little bit more cautious in providing supervision to make sure everything gets turned off appropriately. But in the mild stages, it's likely they're going to be able to perform much of the cooking duties. As it goes into the moderate stage, this is where maybe instead of chopping all of the ingredients, they're doing more of tearing of the lettuce or snapping of the peas. Maybe instead of figuring out what recipe to follow, you're helping with the steps, but they're doing the stirring. They're putting the stuff on the plate. Maybe they're helping set the table. In the severe stages of the disease, maybe they are helping you taste test. Maybe they are choosing between two options for what to have for dinner. Maybe you're watching cooking shows together, flipping through recipe books, talking about some of your favorite foods and meals. The interest or activity somebody has early in life can be adapted throughout their dementia progress. Let's use the golf example. In the mild stages, the person can likely continue doing everything as they were able to. Maybe they might need some extra supervision or might not be driving the golf cart anymore, but they could probably still be doing much of what they've always done with the golfing. Maybe they might need somebody to help call and schedule the appointment, things like that. But for the most part, they've got everything going as usual. In the moderate stage, it might be that somebody is picking them up for golf. Maybe the 18 holes goes to 9 holes. Maybe the 9 holes goes to just the driving range or the putt-putt green. Maybe instead of scheduling the golf outings during the height of the golf season or at the most popular times, it's scheduled during the less popular times, so they're less likely to be put in a group of strangers or other people to be golfing with. In the severe stages, they could be wiping off the golf balls. They could be watching amazing golf tournaments on TV or through YouTube. They can be practicing their swing. They can be helping you. Like, you can be asking for their opinion. How does this swing look? Are my hands supposed to be here or here? They can still be actively engaged, but it's on you to be creative and figure out how to adapt it. Now, that's the first part. That's how to figure out an activity they might enjoy. Basically, look to their past. What have they been interested in? What did they do? Write that down. Write down all the different things that you can imagine somebody might do if that was what they were interested in. The biggest hiccup I see here for caregivers is that they think, oh, well, he used to be a pro golfer, or they used to be a chef in a restaurant and they can't do that anymore. So then they throw the entire idea out when there are so many different aspects of it we can start to pull out, okay? So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is we have to consider their cognitive ability and their physical ability, right? So somebody with the cognitive ability to cook, but not the physical ability to cook, might need some of the prep materials brought to them so that they can chop or tear or stir while they're sitting down, right? Sometimes we think somebody with dementia is being lazy when in all reality, they don't have the cognitive ability. Dementia can impact the initiation, the ability for somebody to get started. I was talking to a Careblazer recently who was frustrated her husband would not clean his room, and she knows he has the physical ability to do it. But what she wasn't thinking about was his cognitive ability. Just because somebody has the physical ability to vacuum doesn't mean they have the cognitive ability to initiate the task, to get the task going. Get the vacuum, bring it out, know where to plug it in, know where the buttons are to press, know where to clean, how to clean, when is it done. There are so many steps cognitively. I think that it's easy to dismiss for you and I who can understand totally how to vacuum, but for somebody with dementia might not. That same thing goes for any activity. You have to consider maybe they need some help. Maybe they need just one step at a time. Maybe they just need some help getting started. So consider where they are cognitively. Then consider where they are physically. Right? They might know all the steps to be able to take the action. They might know that they need to get all the ingredients out first, and that they're supposed to chop and when to add this seasoning and when to add this ingredient. But if physically they don't have the ability, they're not going to be able to follow through with it. So I want you to pause and really think to yourself, with the activity ideas that you just came up with, where do you think your loved one might struggle? Is it with the cognition? That's going to mean you're going to need to prompt them, maybe get them started, maybe help them along the way. Or is it with the physical piece? That might mean you might need to set them up in a way to make the task easier so they'll have success by either bringing things to them, by either giving them like a chair or something they can sit on. Just think, how can I make this task easier knowing physically it's going to be hard for my loved one? And then for many people with dementia, they're going to have problems in both areas. So you might have to adapt the activity considering both cognitive and physical limitations. And finally, Careblazer, the biggest bonus tip I can give. Just putting an activity in front of your loved one or suggesting an activity for them to do is likely not going to work. You might need to get them started. You might need to sit down with them. You might need to show them how to get started. And if all else fails, Careblazer, you get started in an activity. You get started in the activity near them. Seem like you're interested in it. Seem like you're having fun with it. You might be surprised that they might join in then. So Another thing for you to consider is if you're looking at that list of all the things your loved one was interested in, what I would encourage you also to do is think about all the things you are interested in and how can you adapt it for doing it while your person with dementia is there. So for example, if you love dancing and you usually go to a dance class, by all means, continue doing that if you can. But you can be putting on music and you can be dancing around the house and see what that does for your loved one. You can maybe sit down with your loved one, put some music on and do some chair dancing and see what that does for your loved one. Sometimes we're trying to directly head on get our person with dementia to start taking action and behaviors, when sometimes the best approach is just for you to start taking that action and start doing that behavior and then see how your loved one jumps in. Careblazer, I hope this helps you. And then I just want to say, do not focus on how they do it, if they're making mistakes, if they're following the instructions the right way or the wrong way. As long as safety is not an issue, let them have at it. If they seem to be pleasantly engaged and enjoying something, let them go for it. We don't need to offer correction there. Sometimes when we finally get somebody with dementia to take part in an activity, we sometimes squash all the fun out of it and leave a bad taste in their mouth and in our mouth when we try to correct them and say, do it this way instead. As much as possible, try to hold back on that. I would love to know, Careblazer, what do you do to keep your loved one engaged and active? And did you have to adjust it for your loved one's cognitive and physical ability levels? All right, that is what I have for you today. I hope to see many of you in my upcoming free class on how to successfully respond to difficult dementia behaviors, even if your loved one doesn't think anything is wrong with them, even if they resist your help. This class can help you. There's a link for you to save your free spot below. All right, Careblazer, keep up the great work. Bye.